The Lord
Mukama
this time told me,
buno yangambye
he asked me
yansabye
to share my story.
nga bana olugero lwange.
Okay? And that's what exactly I'm going to do.
Ekyengenda okukola.
I can see everyone is alert.
Buli omu yeetegese.
You're pushing me to a corner of tension.
Montiisa.
But I'll share
Naye ngenda ku
exactly what happened.
Ekyabaawo.
It was in the year 2019.
Twali mwaka 2019.
About 5 years ago.
Emyaka kati 5.
The Lord allows me to share my story
Mukama nzikiriza ogaba n'olugero lwange
about the accusations of my husband after 5 years on the
ebiwayirizibwa omwami wange nga wayise emyaka 5.
In 2019, 2018, and I think then 2017, 2016, we are very busy going out there in the nations. We had big programs. Some of these programs we are given appointments, invitations I should say, 2 years before, and we had to meet them. Okay? And we are not home most times. The ministry had given it to the pastors who had left home. There was Pastor Farida. There was a pastor who had lost his ministry. His ministry had closed down in Nairobi. And because we are kind people, he had come back to Uganda. We just all told him, come here while you sort yourself out. He came with his wife. Then there was another pastor, some other lady who had been ordained pastor. So we had four pastors on ground. The other pastor, this one with his wife, our president pastor now. 4 pastors on ground. But the resident pastor was very new that time. So, we were moving up and down. 2019, I remember 2019. It was in the month of February. And a personal friend, an intercessor as well, looked for me and told me that Juliet, the devil is planning to disgrace and shame your marriage. I said, okay, I'll pray about it. And I prayed. But because I was very busy, I could pray anytime. At that time I remembered. So it was February, March, April. In April, my husband began falling sick. I remember we were coming from Sri Lanka and he was very sick at the airport. He was weak. And we had one more mission to do in May. It was in Asia. We wanted to cancel it. But I remember before end of 2018, before 2019 came in, it was in December. And we had a fast for the church, that 40 days fast here in church. And while we were fasting, no, it was a personal fast. The other one had ended. Now this was his personal fast, 40 days. The Lord told him
Mukama n'amugamba,
it's not your fast that I want.
ekisibo kyo si kyenjagala,
I want you.
njagala ggwe.
Stop all what you're doing and come before me.
Lekerawo byonna by'okola ojje gye ndi.
So he told God, I have these invitations, people are waiting, people have put everything in place, they have spent so much money for these conferences. How can I even cancel? God kept quiet. February, March, God told him, I need you. He said, okay, the one of May will be the last one. After that, I'll come. In April, he began falling sick. When we went in prayer, the Lord revealed to us that there was an evil altar that had been raised in church. Said, okay. Somehow, we got to know everyone who was on this altar. But prior to this, there was someone who was our interpreter in church. Some young, he was the interpreter that time. And we had spotted him in a lot of things in the spirit. And the most big thing that he was doing is that he was in adultery. My husband warned him several times and told him, I see you, your walk with God is not right. Put your life right. And he could smile and say nothing. And God sent some people who were also my friends to talk to him. They were not church members, but from where they were, they saw him. And he said, no, the immoral, that's the spiritual. He said that the adultery that God is talking about is this spiritual adultery. Where you go from one pastor to another. But then I kept interceding for this man. And one time, something happened. We could see girls leaving church and we didn't know why. But you know, as you know them, they know their things. He was on the pulpit promising marriage to this one, that one. Then he says, we must sleep, you know, because we are going to get married. So we kept saying, something is wrong. And we knew what was wrong. But we had never gotten any chance to get this person red-handed. I could talk to him, but I had not gotten something that I can stand on. And so the worship team was getting empty. You could ask someone left, what happened? This person, after, dating this one, dumps, picks another one. The ministers. And what happened was that we had a friend who was not even born again. He had a big job, but this time he had lost his job. He was at home, a husband, very responsible husband. So he started coming to church. But this man was busy dating his daughter. So the daughter got pregnant. This friend of ours one time comes looking for me at home. We had just come back from one of the nations. And this time, we are building this new church. We are about to open the church, to launch it. So when he came here, Pastor was very busy. He had my number. He decided to call. I told him, come home. So he brought this before me. My daughter is pregnant. The father, the person who did this, is your interpreter. I was shocked. I was shocked. Because I've taken time on this man, his life, his personal life, his financial life. You know, everything concerning him, his mother when she's sick, his family. Said, wow, how are we going to handle this now? When my husband came home, I told him. But then I did not get so surprised because I had seen things in the spirit. For a long time, we wanted him to sit, but he was the only interpreter, the only person who could interpret. He had been brought in ministry by a certain pastor who had now gone to begin his own ministry. And this pastor brought him in and left him as the interpreter. That pastor had also been the interpreter. So we asked him to sit. And when we asked him to sit, the first thing my husband did was to pray for him. He really prayed for him that night in church. But in the congregation, he had 3 girls. He had one who was very close to me. She had even told me that this man had promised her marriage. I told her it is impossible. You cannot get married to this man. He's not the right man for you. We will talk. We were traveling. When we left, chaos took over the ministry. So my husband made him sit. And for him, he was ready to go. He had 2 girls. This one, and then the other one was at the university. She could come once in a while. And she was, I think, for money. She had a good job. So he could get money from her. He was so corrupt. So when we made him sit, the one who was so close to me got angry. How can they even cast demons out of my husband to be in the presence of the congregation? Now I'm going to revenge. I'm going to revenge. They made their altar. They began praying for James to die. They made agreements which we saw. They made their covenants. They could meet and pray. I had a lot of things. Before we knew, they were now going out there. This man who's preaching righteousness, he has a child out of wedlock. This man who's preaching righteousness, every woman on the pulpit, he has gone out with her. Whatever now the other man was doing, now she had to revenge on me. That is what the husband is doing. They began moving places. But one thing I like about about God.
naye kimu kye njagala ku Katonda.
If someone falsely accuses you
Omuntu omu singa akuwaayiriza
and you keep quiet,
n'osirika,
because as for me,
kubanga nze
God asked me to keep quiet
Katonda yaŋŋamba nsirike
and I kept quiet.
ne nsirika.
At one point he asked me,
Lumu yansaba,
when Jesus Christ was on the cross,
yambuuza Yesu Kristo bwe yali ku musaalaba,
what did he do to those who were nailing him?
abaali bamukomerera yabakola ki?
Now I understood clearly
Awo ne nkitegeera bulungi
that I was on my
nti
cross.
nali ku musaalaba gwange.
And because I was on my cross,
Era kubanga nali ku
and
musaalaba,
my husband was also on his cross,
ng'era n'omwami wange ali ku musaalaba
so
gwe.
we had to carry the
Ffe
cross.
twali tuteekeddwa okwetika omusaalaba.
And my husband had told me
Omwami wange yali aŋŋambye
that God told him that if anything or anyone accuses you,
Katonda yali aŋŋambye nti singa omuntu yenna
never ever reply
tobaanukula,
back. Never.
tobaanukula.
So all that time, from the time he was a young minister,
Kale okuva mu biseera nga
God gave him that instruction.
bwe yali nga muweereza,
That's why you can never see him answer anyone.
ky'oba tolimulaba ng'alina gwayanukudde.
Even if you're here physically, you attack him, he'll look at you.
Ne bw'oba ng'oli wano buliwo n'omulumba ajja kutunuulira.
So is me.
Nange bwe nti.
But in our keeping quiet,
Naye mu kusirika
we are not fools.
tetuli basiru.
We know what we are
Ffe
doing.
tumanyi kye tukola.
So they began moving.
Ne batandika okutambula.
The child they are accusing my husband of,
Nga omwana gwe basiba ku
even
mwana wange,
today,
n'olwaleero
is a child of my sister.
mutabani wa muganda wange.
My sister,
Muganda
who
wange
was living, I'd called her
nali
home that time
nali muyise waka
because there is a course I wanted her to study.
kubanga nalina kosi gye nali
So she was living with me.
yabadde asula nange.
But she had her man somewhere
Naye alina
out there.
omusajja we wantu wamu eyo.
Fortunately,
Ekizibu
one morning, me and my husband,
lumu nze n'omwami
I was going to attend to a certain altar somewhere to pray.
nalina ekyoto kye ŋŋendako
We
okusaba.
met her,
Ne tumusanga
and I got a chance to see the father of this boy.
ne nfuna omukisa okusisinkana tata w'omulemu.
We saw her, and she even didn't see us.
Twamulaba naye ye teyatulaba.
Okay, so we went home.
Ne tugenda ewaka.
I even didn't tell her that we saw her,
Nze saamugamba nti n'okumulaba twomulabye.
and I think she has never known.
Era manyi tamanyanga.
We looked at this man.
Twatunuulira
We
omusajja.
parked it there with my husband and looked at her.
Twapaakinga n'omwami wange tumutunuulira.
Okay? And she could go for her studies.
Yagendanga n'asoma.
A time came,
Akaseera kaatuuka.
my husband warned her twice,
Omwami
actually
wange
thrice,
n'amulabula emirundi
that I
esatu.
can see you getting pregnant.
Nti nkulaba ng'ofuna
I've
olubuto.
seen you pregnant.
Nkulabye ng'olubuto.
Be very careful.
Weegendereze.
Then I also saw this,
Nange ne nkiraba.
and I told
Ne
her.
mmugamba.
Okay? So the last time we warned her,
Omulundi gwe twasembayo mmulabula.
a few months down the road, she was pregnant.
Wayita emyezi mitono nnyo ng'alina olubuto.
And now the one concerned with this did not want to know.
Kati ate nannyini lubuto yali tayagala kumanya.
And I couldn't throw her out.
Ng'ate sinzamu kasuka bweru.
I realized this was the time she really needed. The first few months, let me tell you, I lost my cool.
Emyezi egyasooka kambabuli natabuka.
Because I'd given her all my time,
Kubanga nali muwadde obudde
I'd
bwange.
taught her a lot of
Nali
things,
muyigiriza ebintu
had
bingi.
invested in her.
Nali mutaddemu kinene.
I felt bad.
Nawulira bubi.
But at the end of the day,
Naye ekyenkomeredde.
I had to forgive her.
Nali nina omusonyiwa.
She went back home
Yaddayo ewaka.
to her parents' home and she gave birth.
N'azaala.
And because there was no one to take care of her,
Kuba tewaliwo amulabirira.
we took the responsibility.
Ne tutwala obuvunaanyizibwa.
God told me
Katonda n'aŋŋamba.
that child she's going to give birth to,
Oyo omwana gwe wagenda okuzaala.
is going to be my servant.
Agenda kuba muweereza wange.
Okay. So when she gave birth,
Kati bwe yazaala,
God told me
Katonda n'aŋŋamba
concerning this baby here.
Ebikwata ku mwana.
I'm not looking at the mother.
Nze sigenda kutunuulira maama we.
Whatever concerns him,
Byonna ebimukwatako.
his life and his growth,
Obulamu bwe n'enkula
I'm
ye.
looking at you because that is going to be my servant.
Nze ntunuulidde ggwe kubanga ye agenda okuba omuweereza wange.
I said, okay. So one time she comes back home,
Lumu adda ewaka.
when this child was now 1 year,
Omwana ono ng'awezezza omwaka.
and asks me
N'ambuuza.
to come back home
N'ansaba nkome
in my
waka.
home.
Mu maka gange.
So she says,
Agamba nti
whatever you taught me,
kyonna kye wanjigiriza
I have not done.
sikoze.
But this child,
Naye omwana ono
I'll teach him.
nja kumuyigiriza.
I welcomed her home.
Ne mwaniriza n'akomawo ewaka.
But I first talked to my husband.
Nasooka kwogera na
When she talked to him, my husband told him, if you want this child and Joseph to come back home,
omwami wange n'amugamba
that is going to be my wife's decision, not mine.
omwana oyo abeere wano naawe genda kuba kusalawo kwa
She said, I've already talked to her,
n'amugamba nti
but she hasn't given an answer
naye
yet.
tannanziramu.
But when God talked to me,
Naye Katonda bwe yayogera
I
nange
called them back home.
ne mbagamba ne bakomawo ewaka.
So this time they give this story.
Kati kana
When she's back in my home.
boogera olugero no ng'akomyewo wange ate.
Okay? I was home, I remember.
Nali waka nzijukira.
The pastors who had vowed to fight the ministry.
Abasumba baali beerayiridde okulwanyisa
One of them sent me a message.
omu ku bo n'ampeereza obubaka.
The child you see is your husband's child.
Oyo omwana gw'olaba wa mwami wo.
Your husband has a child out of wedlock.
Omwami wo yazadde omwana abali w'obufumbo.
They told me things.
N'aŋŋamba ebintu.
Do you know what I did?
Omanyi kye nakola?
That time,
Mwaka kaseera
there was a lot of chaos in the ministry.
waaliwo akatabanguko kangi mu
They
buwe.
were telling each and everyone.
Baali bagamba buli muntu.
And it is only a few
Era batono nnyo
who were connected to the throne
abaali bayungiddwa ku
that they survived the storm.
abaavoonoka omuyaga ogwo.
And after the storm, God told me
Era omuyaga bwe gwagwa
that whoever left,
buli eyagenda
they were supposed to leave.
baali bateekeddwa okugenda.
Whether they were
Oba
pastors
baali basumba,
or ministers,
oba baali baweereza.
they had to leave.
Baali bateekeddwa okugenda.
The people that are left now
Abantu
are the people I want you to have.
be njagala omubeera.
They are the people who are supposed to continue this
be
ministry.
bantu
With
abalina
this
okwongerayo
ministry.
obuweereza buno.
There were few,
Baali batono
but they were the only chosen ones.
naye be baali balondeddwa.
So when they told me these things,
Bwe baŋŋamba ebintu bino,
my husband had traveled.
omwami wange yali atambudde.
He had gone. We had been invited. He had been invited. We had been invited, but then I stayed.
Twali twaniriziddwa naye nze ne nsigala.
He had just left. That day he left.
Olunaku lwe yagenda,
This message came to me.
obubaka buno ne bujja.
Imagine yourself
Bwe teeberezaamu
in a house
oli mu nju
with your sister
ne muganda wo
and this young boy, this innocent boy.
ne omwana ono atalina musango.
Someone brings this kind of message to you.
Omuntu n'akuweereza obubaka buno.
After that, they came physically. What would you do?
Bwe oyinza kukola ki?
At first, it hit me really hard.
Kyankuba
I sat on the dining table.
natuula ku dining
I looked at the boy.
ne ntunuulira omwana
My
omulenzi.
sister was busy cooking.
Sisange ng'afumba
I looked at her.
ne mutunuulira.
I stood up,
Ne nsituka
went to my bedroom.
ne ngenda mu kisenge
I
kyange
locked it,
ne nsibawo
and I sat on the bed,
ne ntuula ku buliri
and I told God,
ne ŋŋamba Katonda
I want to know
njagala okumanya
whether I'm an orphan,
oba ndi mulekwa
that this kind of thing can happen in my marriage,
nti ekintu bwe kiti kiyinza okuba mu bufumbo bwange
and you're there looking,
nga gy'oli olaba
and I'm serving you.
ng'ate nkuweereza.
Today I need to know.
Olwaleero njagala mmanye.
By now, It was 4 days after I received this message. My husband had never seen a thing where he's out of the nation. He's sending messages, I'm not replying. He's calling, I'm not picking. Then the third day he says, what is in my home? My wife, are you there? I did not answer. So when I went before the father, I asked him these questions. He carried that. Did I tell you that we had seen the father of this boy? He just took me in a vision and brought back the vision that the way I'd seen this sister of mine with that man. The way they were dressed. He just carried it to me and gave it to me and told me, my daughter, that is the father of that man. He told me, your husband is very innocent. He told me, I love you and I care for you. He told me, you are dealing with a network of witchcraft. But you have to stand. I said, okay. I got very strong. He gave me a spirit. The kind of spirit I carried that time was very different. So when they came, they expected me to pack my bags there and then. They saw me coming. Very happy, by the way. Then you could just look at me. But even me, the courage I'd got from God. I'm telling you, this strength I had. So they told me, well, you have nothing to say about this boy. Who is in your home? Are you trying to say that you're two women in this house belonging to one man? Then I told him, hey, if the boy is for my husband, why do you get bothered? I think he came to live with his father. I told him if he came to, he let him live with his father. There's nothing wrong with a child living with his father. Now I was very strong. These ones, I'm showing off. But now I had my proof. My father had sorted me out. They got so angry that I did not leave. They said, this man, we've now proved he's a high-level witch. He bewitched this woman. Then my father told me a lot about the boy. Servant. I handle him as the Lord's servant. And I respect him young as he is. He's the Lord's servant. That I want him to be straight. I never want him to go. No. So they began telling that if that was not enough, they looked for every pastor we know. Every pastor we had introduced them to tell them about my husband. How he's immoral, how he has children, what. Before I knew, they were saying, we used to go to the west, Mbarara there, Kasese. But we also got proof. He has a child in Mbarara. He also has another one in Kasese. Then I said, But on those missions I've been there. Maybe that child came, I don't know how. Maybe through the air. But when we go for a mission, my husband is with me. After that we leave. He has not talked to anyone except our host. Then I told them, hey, it is okay, those children there, my husband will look after them. Don't worry. They got so angry. Okay? The battle went on and it was very severe. The ministry split. They told everyone they could wait at the gate. You cannot enter that church. You have to leave this church. Because the pastor there and his wife, they are witches. The man is very immoral. A lot of words went on. And with all these things happening, God told me to keep quiet. I kept quiet. Even my family, they told them not to talk to me because I'm no longer in my senses. So my family could not listen to me. My husband now fell sick. He just wanted to die. He said, I cannot stand this kind of shame when I'm innocent. He fell sick. A lot of things happened. God told me that it's because when I called you people, you did not come. I wanted to show you all these things. He told him, I took him to hospital. He was admitted. I stood there in hospital alone. I attended to him. I looked after him. I came back home, carried a few things, went to hospital. I could stay awake day and night. He was so fearful. He was worried. And at this moment, one time he had a problem with ulcers. The ulcers also struck. It was a terrible moment for me. I say to myself, I'm going to treat my husband in hospital and I'll give him back to his people when he's alive, when he's well. Because when I met him, his people gave him to me when he's alive and well. They don't give me a sick man. Fortunately, he recovered. We went back home. He had to stabilize now. His spirit was low. But I remained on the altar. I remained on the altar. And on this altar, God could show me what is to happen, what was ahead of us. What was ahead of us is you here. God was showing me a lot of things. While he was telling me that it's time to go, I think I've done enough ministry. I told him, James, I don't want to ever hear this statement again. Because I know you're not going to die. We have work to do. God's people are waiting for us. If you're seeing death, me, I'm seeing revival. God has shown me where we are going. I told him, you're not keeping. I don't want to hear this. In fact, you're defiling my environment. I've created the spiritual environment in this home. We have pain around us. But I'm not going to succumb to pain. We are going through a lot as a couple. But I'm not going to focus on anything except what God has told me and showed me. The
rest I don't want to know.
I stood. I stood. Meanwhile, we had seats, we could sit there. Someone could come, some people could come and sit there. Wife and husband sing themselves there. And now, the other one whom they had promised to marry, they had promised she would become pastor's wife in this ministry. And then the other interpreter would be the pastor here. Now James will be dead. Me, they'll just throw me out. I don't know how. They take over the ministry. But God saw us through. This storm was heavy and delicate. The father of this child came home to see my parents. But because they were also very angry, he did not get a chance to talk to them. And they didn't know that it was now this man who had come to tell them, I'm the father of this child. My father was so furious. So the man left. And the only person to be looked at as the father of this child maybe was my husband. But my mother says, this man came home and I saw him. I remember the picture of this man very well. Tall, stout, like his son. And the Lord told me, I avoided this boy to go to his father. Because I know what happens in the father's house. I want him to grow in a godly environment. I want him to know me because he's my servant. Pastor's wife, how would you handle such a situation if it were you? And up to today, I love this boy. I've gone through a lot because of him. Spiritually, attacks, physical and spiritual. And I don't care because I know he's the Lord's servant. So whoever wants to fight us, what they do is to look for these people and use them to come and give a testimony so that we can calm down. Today, we have servants of God who are so angry with us. We've never done anything to them. We mind our own things. We only do the programs God has told us. We are led by the Spirit of God. And when they wanted to open up a church in one of the nations we go to, they sat and said, this man is very famous in this nation. We cannot open up a ministry here. The only way we can do it is to ashame him. People leave him. Then for us we'll open up our ministry. And they said,
ne bagamba nti
whatever he's doing,
kyonna kyakola
it was us who were supposed to do it.
ffe twali tuteekeddwa okukikola.
And I don't know how.
Nange simanyi batya.
Because as far as I know,
Kubanga nze okusinziirako kye
every person God creates
buli muntu Katonda gw'atuma
and sends on earth,
n'alokola ku nsi
he has an assignment.
alina omulimu.
Everyone God sends on earth,
Buli muntu Katonda gw'alokola
he
ku
has
nsi
work to do on earth.
alina omulimu ogw'okola ku nsi.
I sit down and ask myself,
Ntuula ne neebuuza,
how can I steal your calling? How?
nziba ntya okuyitibwa ku ntya.
The TV station he has,
TV station gy'alina
it was supposed to be ours.
yali eteekeddwa kuba yaffe.
They stole it in the spirit.
Baagibba mu mwoyo.
Yes. I'm talking of
Njogera
people of the kingdom of God.
abantu ab'obwakabaka bwa Katonda.
Even witches don't do such things.
N'abaloge be tebabikola.
He's running a consecration camp.
Ali mu kuddukanya olusiisira lw'okwawulibwa.
How?
Atya.
Who told him?
Ani yamugamba?
In fact, that was supposed to be also ours.
Ekyo nakyo kyali kirina kuba kyaffe.
So,
Kati
the battle was there.
olutalo nga luli awo.
After 5 years,
Wayita emyaka
the
5
battle comes back.
olutalo ne ludda.
This time at another level.
Luno nga luli ku ddaala ddala.
It is international now.
Luli kati mu mawanga gonna.
And when it is international,
Ate bwe lwatuuka mu mawanga
the Lord tells me,
Mukama ŋŋamba
you're not the only one.
si ggwe wekka.
Go out
Genda
and speak to my servants.
oyogere n'abaweereza bange.
The Lord tells me,
Mukama ŋŋamba
many of my servants are
bangi
hidden.
abaweereza bange beekwese.
But then it is very sad when a servant of God is going through this kind of storm and you, the wife, would have supported him.
Naye kyannaku nnyo omweza wa Mukama ng'ayita mu muyaga guno
You join the team that wants to destroy
ne
him.
weegatta ku baagala omuzikiriza.
You might not be a pastor's wife, but you might be someone's wife.
Oyinza okuba toli mukyala musuma.
Maybe a businessman running business.
Oba omusajja wa bizinesi nga
And the people fighting him are his fellow businessmen,
nga bamulwanyisa beebo bannabizinesi
the competitors.
abate bavuganya nabo.
But as long as you stand in your position as a wife,
naye gwe kasita oyimira mu kifo kyo
no storm will be very big for you.
tewali muyaga gujja kuba munene gy'oli. Hallelujah.
They've had meetings how to destroy us.
babadde n'enkiiko butya bwe batuzikiriza.
There are even people here who go to meet them
waliwo n'abali wano nga bagenda ne babasisinkana
to destroy us.
okutuzikiriza.
But like the father said,
naye nga taata
that
bwe
if I planted you,
bwe mba nga nze
I'll cause you to sprout.
nja baleetera
We will sprout.
tujja
You will sprout.
ojja
I don't know what your storm
nze
is,
simanyi muyaga
but it is not time to give up.
naye si kaseera
It is
kakuwanika.
not time to give up.
si kaseera kakuwanika.
Why should you even give up?
lwaki ye tuwanika?
Let me tell you,
kankubuulire.
Daniel did not give up.
Danyeri teyawanika.
When he was going through a test
bwe yali ayita mu
of false
kugezesebwa
accusations,
ag'okuwaayiriza
Daniel did not give up.
ye teyawanika.
When he was thrown in the
bwe
den,
yasuulibwa
he
mu
did not
nnyanja,
fear the den.
teyatya mu nnyanja.
He faced the den of lions squarely,
yeŋŋanga obu-
and he had to come out of the den
era
victoriously.
yateekeddwa okuva mu bunya bw'empologoma nga muwanguzi.
I don't know which den you are in today,
simanyi bunya ki.
but as long as you keep standing in your righteousness and holiness
naye gwe kasita osigala
on your altar and walking right with
ku
God,
kyoto kyo nga tootambula
your
bulungi ne
God
ku-
will take you through that den.
katonda wajja kuyisa mu bunya bw'empologoma.
When I look at message as message
bwe ntunuulira message
Shadrach and Abednego,
Shadrach n'Abednego,
it was time for King Nebuchadnezzar to know about their God.
kaali kaseera ka kabaka Nebukadneza
They did not run away from the furnace.
tebadduka muliro.
It was made hotter 7 times. They said as long as he's God, we are not going to worship your idol. Our God, we know he's able to save us. But even if he doesn't, it is okay. They are allowed to be thrown in the furnace. And they came out victoriously. It was a time for Nebuchadnezzar to see another God. A God who stands with you when you're in the fire. A God who stands with you when it is burning all around you. He did not give up on them. I don't know what furnace you're in, but as long as the Lord planted you, you are going to sprout.
Hallelujah.
Children of God, why do you always run away from storms? Why do you deny our God testimony? If Daniel refused, then would this God we worship be declared to be worshipped in all of that province, in all that empire? When is our God to be worshipped in the empire of the non-believers? When we are running away from storms and testimonies and tests. When? Why do you deny our God a testimony? Because you fear to be talked about. Let me tell you, as for me, they've said a lot of things. There are those people who seem to know me better than any other thing. There are people who have got wrong visions about me because they are led by the spirit of deception. And I don't care. I don't care. One thing I have a God who called me, and that is it. I just gave myself over to him. Let us walk the journey. This God I'm talking about knows you better than any other person. Better than your husband. Better than your mother. Why don't you throw yourself in the hands of the Lord? I didn't see Jesus run away from the cross. If he ran away, would you be saved today?